Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene's personal account permanently suspended on Twitter for reportedly spreading COVID misinformation. And now Facebook temporarily suspending the Congresswoman's account for 24 hours. That move also credited for the Congresswoman reportedly spreading COVID misinformation. Joining us now with reaction is the CEO of Gettr, former senior advisor to President Donald Trump, Jason Miller. Jason, great to see you. Let's talk about it. Goodness, a sitting Congresswoman's personal account suspended on Twitter. What do you make of that?
Well, great to be with you. I think President Trump said it best when he said, if they're willing to do it to me, they're willing to do it to any of you as well. And as we saw over this past week, not only Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, here's the thing that folks got to realize. The big tech companies do not care about if losing any market share or losing essentially followers on their platforms. This is about world shaping for them. This is a conscious decision.
You know, you mentioned the former president here. He weighed in on this specific ban against Marjorie Taylor Greene, releasing a statement saying in part, quote, "Twitter is a disgrace to democracy. They shouldn't be allowed to do business in this country. Marjorie Taylor Greene has a huge constituency of honest, patriotic, hardworking people. They don't deserve what's happened to them on places like low-life Twitter and Facebook. Everyone should drop off of Twitter and Facebook. They're boring." You know, I know you're CEO of Gettr here. It's another social media platform. Is this an alternative? What's your policy when it comes to information that's shared on Gettr?
Yeah, a really important question here, because we do have what I would call a robust and proactive moderation strategy where we use both AI as well as human moderators to make sure that our terms of service are enforced. And what we want to do is, to paraphrase my old boss, make social media fun again, make this be a place where people can feel free to express themselves politically without the fear of being algorithmed or shadow banned or sentenced to digital jail. But you have to make sure it's a safe environment. So you can't have people promoting illegal activity or have people using racial or religious epithets. That type of thing is not tolerated at all on Gettr. But when it comes to your political beliefs, those always have to be protected. This is a safe space for that to happen.
When it comes to talk about COVID vaccinations, or perhaps even those interviews that Joe Rogan had hosted, would that be allowed on Gettr?
Absolutely. And we think that it's important to have this open. Again, a lot of people come just because they want to connect with family and friends, or they want to get breaking news. That's why a lot of people go on social media. But when you start going through and saying certain people can have free speech, but others can't, then I think that's where we start to really backslide with regard to the First Amendment.
You know, Twitter has been accused of not being real life, which we know should be true, but perhaps even an echo chamber for people with similar thoughts, especially when you see more individuals maybe leaving for different social media companies. Do you worry that Gettr could also become an echo chamber, perhaps of more conservative viewpoints?
No, and I'll tell you why. This is something that we strategically thought out well in advance of even launching the platform, where I made the commitment that I want this to be a global platform. That one of the ways that we can make sure that we have a diversity of thought, diversity of ideas, is to pull people in from all over the world. So listen to this statistic. Only about 35% of Gettr's users are here in the United States. So 65% all around the world, whether that's 15% for Brazil, about 10% for Japan. We're seeing big surge in Germany and France in the last 2 weeks. In fact, Germany has led us in new country signups, I believe, 4 times in the last 2 weeks. So we're very proud of that. But one of the things that we're doing is we're making sure that we have people from all around the world. And here's the other thing. It's not just about politics. Think of someone like Enes Kanter Freedom, the center for the Boston Celtics, who I couldn't even tell you what his ideology is, but he's on the platform and embraces free speech. Andrew Bogut, former #1 NBA pick. I think we have about a dozen UFC fighters that are now on. Gina Carano from The Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people who don't wake up every day and say, I'm about politics, they just don't want to be sentenced to digital jail for they don't even know why.
All right. Very interesting. A variety of people signing up. I've seen it's bumping up in the Apple Store, the App Store. So we'll see.
And in fact, 545,000 new people in the last 48 hours.
Interesting. All right. Very fascinating fact there. Another social media app to check out, perhaps. You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them. Tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.